And so one of the best things that you can do as a man is to provide that idea of security and permanence. It's one of the reasons it's such a tragedy that we have so many 30-year-old boys and so many 40-year-old boys and so many 50-year-old boys running around just pursuing this thing of whim and happiness, and I just gotta do what makes me happy, just gotta do what makes me happy. And that's why they're never staying anywhere. And this is why we have so many of the problems that we have today. We fail to live up to our responsibilities, to fulfill the obligations that we impose on ourselves. We can recognize, therefore, that there's something that's terrifying about the impermanence of our life. And that's part of the existential crisis that we encounter, the awareness that we're only here for a short while and then no more. What is your life acceptance? It's like a vapor that appears for just a little while and then vanishes. And so maybe what we're looking for is something more permanent than even the permanence, just to make all of this worthwhile, to have been here and have it all worthwhile. But this is the really important point, to recognize that it's attainable, and very, very importantly, to know when you have it. So that when you have this, you can appreciate it and look around and say, I don't need to go out and do other things. I don't need to go find somebody else. I don't need to go find love or happiness outside of what I've created here, because the thing I really want is already here. But you can't know you have it until you know what it is. And once you know what it is, then you can know that you have it. And once you know what it is and that you have it, you can appreciate it. If I just gave you a watch, be like, oh, thanks. And you may even lose it. And then a year from now, I ask you, so you still have that watch? Yeah, it's an incredible watch, isn't it? Yeah, I guess it tells time. Why? Oh, it's an old Rolex. It's like a $3 million watch. What? Yeah, the watch is worth $3 million. That's why I gave it to you. I thought you'd appreciate it. You have no idea that's worth that. You just tossed it in a drawer somewhere. So you start tearing through your room trying to find it because you didn't realize what you had. And then guess what? Somebody else came along and was going through your drawers, cleaning things out, and they found the watch and they recognized the value of it. So now they're walking around wearing it. And you're sitting there all your life going, man, I lost that one watch that was so valuable. Hopefully you see the analogy there to people as well. Sometimes this happens with people. We don't realize how valuable they are. They don't realize that they were the thing that we were seeking. And then once they're gone, we're wondering, we're going crazy looking for them, and somebody else is wearing it because they recognize the value of it. Anybody who wants to be famous, let me know. Give me your cell phone and unlock it for me. And let me go through it. And if that freaks you out, then you are not ready to be famous. If one person going through your phone is going to freak you out, then you are not ready to be famous. Because when you're famous, you're going to have millions of people going through your life and photographing every movement, everything you eat, everything you wear, criticizing every little thing about you. So if you can't stand up to just one person just scrolling through whatever, you are not ready to have millions of people doing it. And then you can always tell me, I close it. But once you're famous, you can't close that box anymore. But there's a lot, even from what you're saying there's a lot of different lines. The thing I struggle with talking about this one, actually thinking about this one, is that there's so many lines to go through. Like you point out, even, for example, he draws a distinction between a girl who longs for marriage and then the boy who hankers for fame. He's telling us something. He's giving us a perspective, a point of view. Why is it that a person would want to be married? What is it that we're seeking when we seek marriage? Love, happiness, but more than just that. That's that last part. The thing that gives our every move its meaning is always totally unknown to us. When I was in school, I had a friend who was studying, I don't remember what it was some other subject. Of course, I was studying philosophy. And he was telling me that he just hates philosophy because philosophers overcomplicate things. He said, you guys just can't give simple answers. I go, like what? And he goes, it was at nighttime. He goes, okay, is it dark outside? And I look outside and I asked him, what's the it to which you're referring? And he goes, exactly, that's the problem with philosophy. But no, that's actually the strength of philosophy. What is the it to which you're referring? Are you referring to the building? Are you referring to the sky? Are you referring to, because that's what philosophy does. it seeks to answer very difficult questions. But first things first, we have to understand what it is that we're talking about. And so sometimes, in fact, you heard me say it earlier, I asked, what is the it to which you're referring? And I really genuinely believe that that's going to be an important question for us to answer for a lot of things in life. Like when we're seeking marriage, we want, you said love and happiness. Okay, but what's the it? In other words, there's something that's even more basic or more primal than even just that. In other words, love and happiness gives us or stems from something else. So we might say, we want to be married because, love, happiness, and of course now this is going to beg all kinds of other questions. Do we even know what love is? Do we even know what happiness is? And is this by love, do we mean that we want to receive love? Or does that mean that we want to be giving love? In terms of happiness, does that mean that there's some kind of is happiness a permanent, ongoing state? Or are we talking about we want to have lots of experiences of little happinesses? But there's something that's even more based than that. In other words, there's an it that's even below that we're actually seeking. It's the it that's at the bottom of that. And we're seeking something else when we seek those things. In other words, these are the symptoms of this. It's kind of like, looking out in space and trying to find a black hole. You can't see the black hole, but you can see the effects of it. This is the black hole. These are the effects of it. So this, love and happiness, are stemming from the actual it that we're seeking. So oftentimes we just kind of stop at this level here, and then we wonder why it is that we aren't getting these things. That's because we're seeking this. And seeking happiness itself is a really difficult thing, because think about the things in your life that make you happy. Like, for example, if I asked you, do you want to listen to your favorite song right now? You might say, oh, yes. What's your favorite song? You have to think about it, because it's Tuesday. It's January 30th. What's your favorite song on January 30th of 2024? It might be different from what your favorite song was on January 3rd of 2024. It's probably different from what's going to be on February 8th of 2024. Your favorite song is a perpetually changing thing that you're listening to. And you might have a song that you always go back to. Like if you ask me what my favorite song is, there's one song I always go back to, but there's also a song I'm listening to right now. Like, for example, the other day, I was listening to a song by a band called Pearl Jam. I don't know if anybody listens to Pearl Jam. They have a song called Animal. And I don't really like Pearl Jam, but I like that song. And why do I like it? It's just a great vocal line. And it's a really great vocal. And I played it for a friend of mine, and he asked me, like, on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this? I said, I'd give it a 5 today. And then I played it for him, and I listened to it very closely, and I said, probably like a 3.5 or 4, but still really good. And it was just after listening to it, how much I liked that thing changed, because of the context in which I put it. I put it in a context of sharing it with somebody. Check out this song. My feeling about it changed. And that's the thing about happiness and love, is that these are feelings. And feelings change. Feelings change depending on the day of the week. They change depending on what else you're experiencing. They change on what you've eaten for lunch. They change on, think about, there might be someone who you like have a crush on, and just like one day they just they wear some weird pair of shoes or something. All of a sudden you're like, oh, forget it. Or they said something that one sentence that, it wasn't even a stupid sentence, but for some reason, just the way they said it, oh, never mind, I changed my feelings about them. And the mob is like this. The mob is precarious. It's fickle. People are fickle. We change our minds constantly. And so if what you're seeking is love, then what you're seeking is, if you're talking about this as a feeling, or you're talking about love as an action, because love as an action is something that's demonstrative. You can prove it. You can do it. But how you feel is changing constantly. And this is why we've talked before about why pursuing a feeling within a relationship can be so dangerous. It's the feeling can come from the relationship, but if the relationship is based on the feeling, you're in really dangerous grounds. In other words, if you're somebody who you love, let's say that you're married to someone and you love them because they provide for you. You might think like, that's kind of superficial. Not really. It's pretty biological, and it's a pretty secure thing, because that means that you can count on that person to behave in such a way that they're always taking care of you. And if that's the case, then maybe you can love them, and you can have an emotional feeling towards them because they're behaving so well towards you. And this can happen. So then, of course, it then seeks that question of what is the it? And the thing that you're probably looking for with regards to something like marriage, the it is probably something more akin to security. You're looking for something that's permanent, because you recognize that pursuing a relationship or pursuing love or trying to find love anyway, or even just hoping it's going to find us, for a lot of people, this is a constant obsession. It's a lifelong goal, because what you're really looking for is security and permanence, and you're looking for security and permanence based off of the fact that somebody accepts you as you are. And not just accepts you today or tomorrow or last week, but you can kind of bet your life on the fact that they're going to accept you 20 years from now, even if their sentiment towards you changes. We hope it doesn't, and there's, the sentiment will change, but hopefully for the better. In other words, I'll leave it at that. Hopefully the sentiment changes for the better. But what we're really looking for is the security and the permanence of acceptance. Now, once you get that, that's the thing that makes us happy. In other words, we're seeking the happiness. We don't know why, so we don't know what it is that will make us happy. But once we find this, then we find that happiness comes from security and permanence. You no longer have to kind of gamble with your life. It's no longer as uncertain. Because if there's one thing that's certain about our existence, it's that it's uncertain. Are you going to be alive tomorrow? I hope so. And we say that we say that like cavalierly, like it's a cliche, I may not be here tomorrow. Oh yeah, we might not be here tomorrow, but we always have been. And as long as you've been alive, you've always been here, of course. And there's a really good chance you're going to be here tomorrow. But I wonder if any of you have ever lost somebody really fast, like overnight, like you didn't expect that. I remember I gave my mom a kiss on the cheek one time and said, "All right, Mom, I love you. I'll see you tonight." She says, "Okay, I love you." And that's the last time I talked to her. Last thing I ever said to her. She was dead that day. Well, she was in coma that day. She was dead 3 weeks later, and never got a chance to talk to her again. I keep my dad's last Facebook post on my phone, where he talks about what a busy weekend is going to be and how much he has to get done. And he made all these plans, but fate had a different plan for him. He died before he got a chance to do any of that stuff. Died the very next day. So we recognize intuitively that even though we've always been here, even though life has always kind of existed, we recognize that it could go at any second. And we try to avoid that, and we even avoid it in weird ways where we, like I said, we pay a lip service, like we're saying it like we believe it. Oh yeah, tomorrow I could die. But do you really recognize that? Do you really recognize this? And if so, well then permanence, permanence and security will matter a lot more to you. Yeah, he's playing to a gender type here, where he talks about marriage, that a girl longs for marriage. And why would it be more that a girl longs for marriage? Because what comes from marriage, hopefully, but children. And children are, again, something that's permanent, because it's something that it establishes your level of permanence in the world. It leaves something behind of you in the world to make the world better or worse, depending on how it all turns out. But that's what we'll aim towards. And there's a special bond. There's a reason that we tell mom jokes and not dad jokes, right? Because there's a special bond that people have with their moms, more so than their dads. And of course, nothing is everything. I'm sure some people are closer with their dads. But every girl becomes like her mom. Of course, that's her tragedy. And no man becomes like his mom. Of course, that's his tragedy as well. But we recognize that there's something special and unique in that bond. And so it's a worthwhile thing to long for. And of course, it only makes sense if you're going to have children that you'd want to have that happen in a permanent relationship, where you have somebody who's able to provide and take care and be there for you no matter what. Because the last thing, of course, you want to do is be out there by yourself with kids and no support. A lot of us know what we're talking about with regards to that. And so one of the best things that you can do as a man is to provide that idea of security and permanence. So one of the reasons it's such a tragedy that we have so many 30-year-old boys and so many 40-year-old boys and so many 50-year-old boys running around just pursuing this thing of whim and happiness, and I just gotta do what makes me happy, just gotta do what makes me happy. And that's why they're never staying anywhere. And this is why we have so many of the problems that we have today. Because we fail to live up to our responsibilities, to fulfill the obligations that we impose on ourselves. Because when you get involved in a relationship, don't fool yourself, man. When they say things like, oh, we're just gonna have fun or whatever. No, you can say that, but what's really happening is that you're creating an obligation, you're creating a responsibility to somebody, to be there for them, to be loyal, to be there for them, to be a permanent fixture in their life, until you're not, of course. Which is, again, one of the tragedies. Then you look at why does it the boy hankers after fame? He has no idea what fame is. So why would you want that if you don't know what it is? Because fame promises something that it can't deliver. Fame promises acceptance. Fame promises love, of course, also. Fame promises status. Fame promises permanence as well. It's a different avenue for the permanent, though. I'll be remembered. Of course, you won't be. No matter how famous you ever are, you probably won't be remembered, because history just kind of marches on. Even people who have conquered the world before, like Nebuchadnezzar, we don't know their names today. Only a few handful of people in academic circles wandering the halls of universities know who most of these people are. And yet, I ask you, so what will you do that's greater than conquer the whole known world of your day? Chances are nothing. So we can recognize, therefore, that there's something that's terrifying about the impermanence of our life. And that's part of the existential crisis that we encounter, the existential dread that we encounter, the awareness that we're only here for a short while and then no more. Like, what is your life except it's like a vapor that appears for just a little while and then vanishes. There might be some little traces of left over. And so maybe what we're looking for is something more permanent than even the permanence, just to make all of this worthwhile, to have been here and have it all worthwhile. So it could be through fame, it could be through family, hopefully. It could be through who knows, but the idea that Kundera is getting at here is that we have to be aware of what the it is that we're pursuing. Because if what we're pursuing, you see in both of these cases, we're pursuing a security and permanence and acceptance, both through fame and through marriage. And so if we can really understand what we're pursuing, we can pursue that thing directly. And then you're going to find there are lots of avenues to this. It doesn't have to just be fame. It doesn't have to just be marriage and family. Those both work. Some are more attainable than others. But this is the really important point, to recognize that it's attainable, and very, very importantly, to know when you have it. So that when you have this, you can appreciate it and look around and say, I don't need to go out and do other things. I don't need to go find somebody else. I don't need to go find love or happiness outside of what I've created here, because the thing I really want is already here. But you can't know you have it until you know what it is. And once you know what it is, then you can know that you have it. And once you know what it is and that you have it, you can appreciate it. If I just gave you a watch, you'd be like, oh, thanks. And you may even lose it. And then a year from now, I ask you, so you still have that watch? Yeah. Yeah, it's an incredible watch, isn't it? Yeah, I guess it tells time. Why? Oh, it's an old Rolex. It's like a $3 million watch. What? Yeah, the watch is worth $3 million. That's why I gave it to you. I thought you'd appreciate it. You have no idea that's worth that. You just tossed it in a drawer somewhere. So you start tearing through your room trying to find it because you didn't realize what you had. And then guess what? Somebody else came along, was going through your drawers, cleaning things out, and they found the watch, and they recognized the value of it. So now they're walking around wearing it. And you're sitting there all your life going, man, I lost that one watch that was so valuable. Hopefully you see the analogy there to people as well. Because sometimes this happens with people. We don't realize how valuable they are. They don't realize that they were the thing that we were seeking. And then once they're gone, we're wondering, we're going crazy looking for them. And somebody else is wearing it because they recognize the value of it. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques?